To keep with the placing ourselves in the context, then we're gonna go deeper on each of the cases. But now my question to Mugo would be, well, we know that one of the ways in which the United States, let's say, takes part in internal matters, to call it somehow, of other countries, is through target killing with drones. So what is the origin of this policy, or or the justification of what actually could be called a crime? When did this started?
Sure. So there is a simple answer as to when it started, and I think a more metaphoric answer of when it started. So September 11th, 2001, there was an attack in New York City, Al-Qaeda attack in New York City. 3 days after the attack, the United States Senate introduced a bill called the Authorization for Military Force Against Terrorists. The bill was introduced in the Senate. There are 100 members in the Senate. All of them voted yes. In the House, there are 435 members. All of them voted yes, except for one person called Barbara Lee. The authorization for military force said that the United States could take military action against those who perpetrated 9/11 and all associated forces. So that's really kind of the start of it. So the authorization for military force goes into effect in September 4th. It's signed by George Bush. And then in October 7th, 2001, the United States invades Afghanistan under the Operation Enduring Freedom. And so specifically with the drones, the United States then begins to look for associated members of Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. And the first instance of a civilian being killed by a drone in Afghanistan happens in 2002. A gentleman by the name of Daraz Khan. The United States believed him to be Osama bin Laden. He was not Osama bin Laden. He was just a man who was looking for scrap metal, but the drone... somehow they had the intelligence that they believed he was Osama bin Laden. More generally speaking, I think outside of the notion that a country can and should be able to kill anyone, anywhere, remotely, I think really comes from the deep belief in the United States that the United States is exceptional. The United States is the shining, it's the city on the hill. It's this this unique point in human civilization, and deserves and knows what's best for the rest of the world. So I think that's more of the narrative drive of it, and the drone program is an extension of that belief of inherent superiority. Yeah. Sorry, there's an image also to kind of help make this seem less abstract. But in terms of the targeted assassination program from the United States, sorry, speak slowly, there are basically two main steps, right? So one is choosing who to kill and then killing that person, right? So in terms of the choosing, like I mentioned before, with the authorization for military force, this is purely a military and executive branch piece, right? So this is just the military and the president decide who is going to die. In terms of the actual bureaucracy of it, within the military there is a branch called, it's called JSOC, which stands for Joint Special Operations Command. So they put together basically the pitch of why this person should die, referred to internally as the baseball card, right? So it's going to have all information how this person is a terrorist, where just general information to denote why they believe this person should die. Then the baseball card then makes its way up through the rest of the military. Once it's gotten approval from the different levels, then it moves on to the executive branch, eventually making its way to the president. At least in terms of President Obama, he approved every target. So that's to say that he approved that this person should die, but he was not there in kind of the day-to-day of them planning the strike. And at least within the Obama administration, an approval for a strike meant that they had 60 days to kill this person who was a quote-unquote imminent threat to the United States. And it's weird to think imminent and then 60 days at the same time, but that's a different kettle of fish. And then, I don't know if you could bring up that first kind of confusing slide. So a lot of this information comes from there was a leak of government documents, and don't worry. It's just to illustrate that. So there's a leak of government documents that showed kind of the inner workings of this of the program. And then I don't know if you could switch to the simplified version. It's the simplified version. So I just wanted to show you that like this is just a simpler version of what you've seen before. So now that after the approval of the target, then we move into the actual the killing phase. So the first thing to understand, especially for drones flown over Afghanistan, Yemen, and Somalia, all those drones are operated by people sitting in air-conditioned Air Force bases in Nevada, which is the Creech Air Force Base. There are several Air Force bases in the U.S., but that's the main one. Creech Air Force Base is connected via fiber optic cables to a U.S. Air Force base in Germany called Ramstein. So the way it works is the signal, the person controlling the drone, the signal is sent to Ramstein, it bounces off the satellite, and then the controls go to the drone itself. I think there's usually the question of why Ramstein. From the documents the U.S. released, it's basically convenience because the German government allowed them to have enough space to have the satellites that could beam the signal up to the satellite dishes that could beam the signal up to the satellites and coverage. And because the Ramstein is in the middle of the world, they're able to cover up. They're able to have one point that can cover all these different theaters, not really theaters, but different places for attacking. So in terms of the actual operations themselves, it's also important to note that the United States they aren't targeting people, they're targeting phones. And what I mean to say with all this is that, especially in Somalia and Yemen, because there isn't, especially in Somalia and Yemen, where there isn't a very strong U.S. intelligence, there isn't a lot of people on the ground, right? So they're dependent on what's called signals intelligence, right? So what signals intelligence means in a lot of these instances is that they are very confident that this person is using this cell phone, right? This cell phone and this SIM card. They're very confident this is what they use, right? And that is the basis of which they're going to base all of the attack around, right? So the process is called find, fix, finish. So find is identifying which phone, which SIM card, right? So this is done, usually the NSA is using metadata that they are getting from the telecommunications, the Vodafone equivalent of Yemen or Somalia. Sorry, am I going too fast? Sorry. Sorry. So find, fix, finish. So find, identify what is the phone that they're using, right? So they usually want to have two pieces of intelligence. So for instance, if they know which phone let's say the person's mother uses that mother, the mother lives in the UK, they can at least be very certain this is the mother's phone, and then this mother's phone is calling a phone in Somalia. So like, okay, we're fairly certain that these two, like through that signal's intelligence, we're fairly certain that this is that person's phone. So that's the finding part. Fixing refers to now once you know roughly where the phone is, you send a drone over that location. So the U.S. Predator drones are equipped with a piece of software called Gilgamesh. And what Gilgamesh does is it acts like a fake cell phone tower. So flying around the area where the cell phone is, the drone is going to force that phone to connect. Oh, sorry. Oh,
a little bit slower.
Sorry.
Slow, like
yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry. All right. Gilgamesh. So the drone is going to fly overhead and connect and force the phone to connect to the cell phone tower that's flying overhead. And so with that, that's going to be the confirmation for the drone pilot and the person to know that, okay, so we know we're connected to the phone, and we now, I think it's within 35 feet. I'm not sure what that is in meters. I'm not sure. Let's say within 5 meters, we know where this phone is. All right. So you found the phone, you've fixed the location, and then the finish is, of course, pressing the button to fire the missile. So again, all of this happens from all the controlling of the drone, the firing of the missile. All that happens within the United States. All the personnel are stationed in the U.S., but then obviously there's a whole infrastructure supported by the German government to help that to happen in what they call, quote unquote, near real time. In near real time, yeah. I guess kind of piggybacking off the talk about drones on the U.S. border. So I had mentioned previously the equipment they can attach to the bottom of a drone to make it act like a fake cell phone tower. So that technology also comes in backpack form. They're referred to as stingrays by the U.S. police. So they can use stingrays to basically park their cars near a protest and record which cell phones happen to be at all the different protests. So there's a strong use of technology both abroad and internally. Sorry, your question was. Okay, all right, we can talk later. Yeah. Sorry.
Do you want to?
Sorry. No, it's fine. Yeah.
Just quickly, I want to say where they do, like, is it just in the US or is it? Is these like
The Stingray?
the cell phone?
The technology that's referred to as stingrays, which is like basically a fake cell phone tower that is backpack size, is sold by private companies. So technically, any government could buy them. In the U.S., the cases where judges have tried to get more information from the police about the stingrays, they tend to drop the cases. They prefer to reveal as little as possible how they use them than to win the case, right? So like as soon as the judge starts asking more and more questions about how are you using this, how are you collecting the data, they're just like, all right, never mind, this case is dropped. So that's what I know, at least from the reporting I've seen, yeah.